we're still on track, but we need a couple more votes. I really don't know what the holdup is, but we do need a couple more people to commit to voting for the BBA, and then we should be able to get both bills through. All of us wish that we could have gotten it done months ago. You know, we had 96% of Democrats on board with the Build Back Better agenda at $3.5 trillion, 96% in the House and in the Senate. But we didn't have the 4%. And the reality is our margins are so thin that that's what makes all of us frustrated. It is a frustrating time because we're so close and yet we didn't have what it took to get those across the finish line, which is why we all had to come back to the table, renegotiate, which we have done in very, very good faith. And actually most people have done in very good faith. But we do have a couple of holdouts now in the conservative part of our party who are putting up some objections in the House. And so now we need to get them to a yes. And I think that's what we're working on. Actually, what's interesting is the vast majority of my colleagues in really tough seats all want this, and they're all on board. I actually think that if you look at, a couple of the holdouts, it's not necessarily the people in the toughest seats. We have to do everything we can to tell people what is in this and to get the benefits out as quickly as possible. That is the most important thing. We need to pass these bills, but then it's not just about having town halls in our districts. I mean, I think we really need a big marketing campaign. I don't know if you remember those public works signs that used to be up, for a new road or a new bridge paid for by your government taxpayer dollars. Because I just think that sometimes people don't realize exactly what they are getting. And we move on to the next thing very quickly because there's a lot we have to do. And so sometimes we forget that we have to sell. I think we will be united when we pass these two bills. That will be an incredible sign of how united we are as a Democratic Party. I also think that, the 24-hour news cycle is challenging, right? Because these negotiations they do go back and forth, and most negotiations don't take place completely in public. But that is what happens here, is every little thing that people disagree on or backward forward movement gets reported on instead of what is it we are actually talking about: childcare, pre-K, healthcare, housing, climate action, immigration, and there's so much agreement from so many of us, but unfortunately the piece that gets focused on is the very few. It's the 4% versus the 96% or the 1% versus the 99%. Look, we all are part of the Democratic Party. We all have to come together and we all have to move these things together. And this is the president's agenda. This is not some crazy left-wing agenda. This is the agenda that the president of the United States gave to us to get done back in February before Congress. It's the agenda he ran on. It's the agenda we all ran on. And now we have to deliver.